Welcome to online classes DEO Nalgonda. I am Venkatrao Patale, TGT Science, TSMS Damarchala. Children, here is a real story that was happened recently at my home. When we are cleaning our home, my children and entire family helped me a lot. My son, who is cleaning the house, he climbed up to the ventilator and there he observed one of the nest of a bird. In the nest, he saw two eggs were broke down and from which the birds, the nestlings come out, and he posed me a lot of questions. Some of them are, Papa, does all the eggs are hatched into nestlings, or the eggs are like that only for a long time? If not happened, from where these birds are coming? Then there are no questions, the answer is not there. Children, here this related to one of the topic of our class, the reproduction in animals. Reproduction is a basic process of living beings. So here today we are going to learn more about reproduction in animals. Children, what I want to say is, do all animals lay eggs as if the birds? Or any animals are there which lay eggs? Not only that, or any animal is there which give birth to young ones? For that question, we have to see in the nature, observe the nature and find out some clues which can help us. So when observing that, I found that there are some clues which our nature will give us. One of them is that, see, you also observe and tell me some of the example of some animals name. Here I am going to write some of the animals name, like cow, buffalo, cat, pigeon, leopard, peacock, rabbit, snake. So like we can include some more animals. So if you observe these animals carefully, here can we see the external ear of these animals? External ear means which we can see the ears of these animals, which can observe from outside. That is, for example, cow. The cow, the external ear is observed or not? In case of cow, we can see the ears outside, isn't it? Like that, what about buffalo? So buffalo's ears also can be observed from outside. They also do have external ears. For cat also we can see the ears. For pigeon, we can't see the external ears. In case of leopards, we can see external ears, whereas in case of peacock, we can't see. And in case of rabbit, very much we can see the external ears. What about snake? Snakes do not have external ears. So one of the clue or character, what we call it as a character, that nature has given us, whether the animals have external ears or not, whether the animals give birth to young ones or they lay eggs, we can come to conclusion by observing the external ear. So, at the same time we have to observe another character, that is the hair on skin. The presence of hair on skin. Hair on skin, otherwise known as epidermal hair. So, the animals which have epidermal hair or hair on skin or not, we have to see from these examples. In case of cow, do you observe the hair on the skin? Yes, it is there. What about a buffalo? Buffalo do have hair on skin, and cows do have hair on skin. Pigeon doesn't have. What do pigeons have? Pigeons have feathers on the skin. So, they do not have hair on the skin. They do not pose external hair on the skin. What about leopard? Leopard do have hair on skin. Epidermal hair is present in case of leopards also. What about peacock? Peacock doesn't have epidermal hair. And what about rabbit? They do have epidermal hair. And when we observe the snakes does not have epidermal hair. They have scales. So, in case of snakes, we cannot see epidermal hair, but they do have only the scales. So, these animals, when we have taken for example, so now we have to see what kind of reproduction they produce. How do these animals produce their young ones? What is the method they produce the young ones? If you observe these two characters, that is one, presence of external ears and hair on skin, we can easily say that what kind of animal, which animals follow the method of reproduction. There are whether they give birth to young ones or lay eggs and give birth to babies. So, for that case, depend upon these two characters, let us see are they give to young ones or lay eggs. So, first of all, you take the cow. Cows do have both characters like presence of external ears and presence of hair on the skin. So, are they going to lay eggs or give birth to young ones? Yes, you are right that cows do give birth to young ones. They give birth to young ones. What about buffalo? Buffalo also possesses two characters. One is the external ear and another is the hair on the skin. So, these animals, buffaloes, when we observe in nature, they give birth to young ones. So, they have two characters, external ear, presence of external ears and hair on the skin. The third one, cat. Cat also do have both characters and give birth to young ones, isn't it? When it comes to the pigeon, come on children, tell the characters what we have posed here. Are they content as they have external ears or do they have hair on the skin? No, they do not have these two characters, and we have seen pigeons lay eggs, isn't it? They lay eggs. Now, next animal, if you see the leopard, leopard have two characters. They contain external ears and hair on the skin. So, they give birth to young ones. As if you see the peacock does not possess the presence of external ear and hair on the skin. They do have only feathers. They lay eggs. The next animal, rabbit, they have both characters and they give birth to young ones. When we come to the snakes, as you know that they also do not have both the characters and they lay eggs. So, this is what we have observed in the nature. Nature gives us many number of such clues to find out the secrets of the nature, isn't it? So, like that we have come to an conclusion that animals which have or which possess the external ears as well as the epidermal hair or hair on the skin, they give birth to young ones. For example, we have cow, buffalo, cat, leopard, rabbit. You can take many more examples also. And those animals which do not possess external ears and epidermal hair or hair on the skin, they lay eggs. For example, we have pigeon, snake. You can take it. Even the crocodiles, lizards are there. They also do lay eggs. So, this is what the animals. Here, I want to say the animals, depend upon that, we have to characterize or differentiate or divide the animal kingdom into two characters, depend upon their way of reproduction. One is the animals which give birth to young ones and the animals which lay eggs. So, depend upon this we have divided the animals into two kinds. One is oviparous and the second one is viviparous. What is oviparous animals? Oviparous animals are those animals which lay eggs and perpetuate their species by means of reproduction. For example, we have pigeon and snakes. What about viviparous animals? Viviparous animals are those animals which give birth to young ones and perpetuate or continues their species on this earth by means of reproduction. So, here these animals, how can we identify them? Oviparous animals can be identified by having no epidermal skin and having no external ears. They lay eggs and hence we are called them as oviparous animals. Whereas viviparous animals are those animals which have external ears and possess hair on the skin, that is epidermal hair, and give birth to young ones. Did you understand? Thank you. Thank you very much. We will go for the next part tomorrow. Okay, thank you. Thank you, children. Good morning, children. Welcome to online classes DEO Nalgonda. Children, in the previous class, in the introduction of reproduction in animals, we have learned there are two kinds of animals based on the mode of reproduction that they do, that to be the animals which we can see with our naked eyes, such as one kind oviparous and second kind viviparous. oviparous animals. So, as such you know well that oviparous animals means the animals which produces or reproduce their own kind species by laying eggs, and viviparous animals are those animals which give birth to young ones. So, today we have to go further deep into the reproduction in animals. How does they perform the reproduction? Here I want to tell you one statement that reproduction is one of the basic processes of living beings. The process of living beings producing its offsprings is called reproduction. Here in animals, the reproduction takes place in two modes. One is by means of asexual reproduction and second one is sexual reproduction. Children, here when it comes to asexual reproduction, as in your class 7, previous class, we have learnt about the reproduction in plants. Remember children, what we have learnt in the previous class, among the plants such as chrysanthemum, potato, bryophyllum, does the reproduction takes place between two gametes? That means only a single parent plant produces of its own kind. This kind of reproduction is called asexual reproduction in plants. Such same kind of reproduction also takes place in animals. Children, when we talk about the asexual reproduction in animals, do you have found any such animal that undergo asexual reproduction? You might not, because asexual reproduction takes place in primitive animals. Primitive animals means animals which we can't see with our naked eye. For example, like single celled animals or some multicellular organisms which we can't see with our naked eye, such as amoeba, paramecium, Hydra, etc. Almost all these animals are living in water. So, these how does the reproduction takes place in these animals by means of asexual process. Coming to the point, let us see budding in Hydra. Children, Hydra is an multicellular organism, but it is microscopic in nature, lives in water. That is means it is an aquatic animal. This aquatic animal, if you observe carefully the slides which we have in the lab, the permanent slides, this is a figure of a Hydra. On the lateral sides of, when we observe in the slide, on the lateral side of this body, we will observe the presence of some swollen part like this. This swollen part, or we call them as a bulge. There may be a single bulge or sometimes many number of bulges may present in some Hydra. They grow in size when a good amount of food and water is available. That means in the favorable conditions. What do the Hydra do? On its body, this bulge grows in size day after day. In this way, day after day, there grows the bulge. It turns into a daughter Hydra. After a few days, this daughter Hydra detaches from the parent body and start living individually. The formation of these birds on the lateral side of the body, we call them as buds. This kind of asexual reproduction, as a single parent is taking part in the production of a daughter bodies, living being, is called asexual reproduction. And in Hydra, this kind of bulge formation, that is the formation of bud, and it detaches from the parent plant and lives individually. This kind of reproduction is called budding in Hydra. Children, in previous classes, you might have seen an animal which is a single cell, as I am drawing on this board. Observe it carefully and name it. Children, can you name this animal which is single celled? Okay, yes, this is a amoeba, which belongs to group Protozoa. Okay, in amoeba also undergo asexual reproduction, and the kind of asexual reproduction we see or observe in amoeba is called binary fission. Children, what happens in amoeba? When the conditions are favorable, that means when availability of water and food is in plenty, the amoeba, a single celled animal which is also known as a unicellular organism, grows in size. Also, at the same time, the nucleus of the amoeba cell, it grows in size and start dividing into two halves. I will show a diagrammatic figure. In this way, the parent nucleus start dividing into two. Finally, the parent nuclei divides into two, and further the cytoplasm also divides into two equal halves, in which the nucleus are embedded in each side. Finally, two daughter cells are produced after complete division. As you can see in this diagram, a parent cell of amoeba grows in size in favorable conditions. Finally, in that the nucleus which is present grows in size and start dividing into two halves. After a few days, there forms two nuclei in the cell, and further the cell also totally divide into two halves, making two daughter nuclei, and in this the parent cell becomes non-existent. Isn't it? This kind of division of the entire cell into two halves is called fission. Fission means two cells, binary, we call it as binary fission. Okay. In this section, we have in asexual reproduction, we taught about two kinds of reproduction methods. One is budding in Hydra and binary fission in amoeba. There are so many other such methods are there in asexual reproduction in animals that you will learn in your higher classes. Children, now coming to the next point, the sexual reproduction in animals. In 7th class, reproduction in plants, in that lesson we have learnt the plants also reproduce by means of sexual mode. What is the sexual mode? What are the organs that take place in reproduction of a flower by means of sexual reproduction? They are their participant pollen grains and ovary. Pollen grains are produced in pollen sac of androecium, which acts as a male reproductive gamete. In the ovary of gynoecium, ova are present, which are otherwise known as eggs. Ova or eggs are female reproductive gametes of a flower. So, here in the same way as if in the plants, the flower bear specialized organs for sexual reproduction, in the same way animals do have specialized organs for sexual reproduction. Let us see how the sexual reproduction takes place in plants first. The pollen grain, when it falls on the stigma of a gynoecium, it forms a tube-like structure and reaches the ovary. The pollen cell, which is a male nuclei, it finally combines with the egg of ovary and there fuses together to form a nucleus. That we call this process is called fertilization. This what we have learnt in the 7th class. And this fertilization, after this fertilization of the pollen male cell, male gamete, and with that of the egg or female gamete is called fertilization. That means sexual reproduction means the fusion of male and female gametes, isn't it? So, coming to the point here, in case of animals, the same kind of fusion of male and female gametes takes place. For that, we have to learn how does it takes place, the mode of sexual reproduction in animals. For case, we have to learn go for in case of animals. Children, you have seen cows give birth to a calf, she goat gives birth to lamb, and woman gives birth to a baby. Similarly, here same kind, only she means a female organism take part in the formation of a baby. Then what about the male part in the reproduction of animals? For that we have to go through the reproductive organs, specifically in case of human beings. Children, in plants the pollen grains plays a major role in the reproduction by means of sexual reproduction in flowers. Similarly, in animals, here we have the human reproductive system of male. Similarly, in the same kind, animals do have specialized organs for reproduction. The male reproductive organs are situated in just below the abdomen. It contains a pair of testes, a pair of seminal ducts or sperm ducts, and a penis. Here what happened? In the penis, the male reproductive gametes are produced. The male reproductive gametes which are produced in the testis is called sperm. The testis produces millions of sperms, and these sperms passes through the seminal ducts and ejaculated out with the help of a penis. So, this is the sperm which is a male gamete. If you see the structure of a sperm, it is a single celled and it has a nuclei inside the body. The entire body is a single celled one with its distinct three parts. One is the head, which contains the nucleus. Below it there present the middle piece, it has a mitochondria inside and a tail. Children, the middle piece, as it contains mitochondria, it generates the energy which is needed for the sperm to travel. Here these sperms which are produced here, they need to travel all the way to reach the egg of a female reproductive organ. There are specific methods or organs which we call it as the sexual organs that help the sperm to reach the egg within the body of the female. And here let us see the female reproductive organs. Children, the female reproductive organs are situated within the abdomen in the region of hip, and they are present inside the body. The female reproductive organs consist of mainly three parts. One is a pair of ovaries, a pair of oviduct or fallopian tubules, and uterus. Children, a pair of ovary are present on either side of the uterus within the body of a female, in the hip region, and these ovaries produce egg or ova, which is a female reproductive gamete, or we call as female gamete, ova. Singularly we call ovum. And these ovaries, when they produce the ovum, they enter the oviduct and passes through the oviduct and reaches the uterus. And within the uterus, the ovum further development takes place. Children, what happened? This ova, it contains single nucleus surrounded by a layer, or we call it as membrane, and this nucleus is floating in cytoplasm of the ovum. Children, here is a main important point, that a single ova is produced every month by either of the ovary and finally passes through the oviduct and reaches the uterus. This is what a female reproductive system of human being. Now let us have some recall. Let us recall something. The sexual reproduction which is taking place between a male and female organism, they have specialized organs called the male sexual organs and female sexual organs. The male sexual organs are nothing but the testes, whereas female sexual organs are known as ovary. Testis produces the sperms, the male gametes, and female ovaries produces the female gametes known as ovum. These sperms passes through the uterus and fuses with that of ovum, that is the egg, and this fusion of sperm with that of ovum is called fertilization. And this fertilization leads to or results in the formation of a zygote. So, a nucleus which is formed in the union of a sperm and ovum is called the zygote. So, this is first part of the reproduction in human beings by means of sexual reproduction. Children, so what we have observed here in this case, a sperm male gamete unites with ovum a female gamete, and this fusion leads to or results in the formation of zygote after fertilization. So, zygote, this reaches the uterus and further development takes place. Total development of the baby takes place within the uterus of a female body. This kind of development is known as internal fertilization. Almost all the terrestrial animals show internal fertilization mode, whereas animals that live in water, that means aquatic animals, they show external fertilization. That means fertilization takes place outside of the body. Further, what development takes place after the formation of zygote? If you observe, zygote further undergo many divisions and forms many number of cells. These many number of cells forms a ball of cells, and this ball of cells further group, and from this group of cells develop different tissues and leads to formation of different body parts. Entire this thing takes place within the uterus. After the formation of such body within the uterus, that means distinct parts which are produced within the cell is now called as a embryo. This embryo further develops into fetus. That means distinct parts of the body, means organs are fully developed, and that stage of development of the body within the uterus is called the fetus, and this takes near about 270 to 280 days. These many days where the development of fetus takes place is called pregnancy period, and finally after these many days 280 days the woman give birth to young baby, and these 270 to 280 days where entire development of fetus takes place is called gestation period. Children, you might have been heard from your relatives that you look like your father or your mother. If you have your sister and your sister looks like your father, this is what we have. Some characters, body parts are resembling to our parents, isn't it? Why does it happens? Is there any relationship? Because the reproduction of a baby takes place from the combination of or fusion of male gamete which is produced from father and female gamete ova which is produced from the mother. They forms the baby. So, as they are related or resembles to their parents. If you want to do some experiment or exercise, collect photographs of your parents and yours at the same time, some photos of your friends with that of their parents, and check with each other and find out what are the same organs which resembles to your parents, that of the babies. So, with this we have completed sexual reproduction in case of animals, that to be internal fertilization. Children, earlier just now we had taught about external fertilization. As I said, external fertilization takes place in aquatic animal mostly. For that, we have to take one example. Can you name any animal that lives in water? Yes, fish, frog, so on. So, let us see the kind of external fertilization in case of frog. Children, during rainy season, frogs start cracking. Why they croak? Do you know? That is the mating time for the frogs. Male and female frogs, they mate and they releases their eggs. Female releases eggs and male releases sperms into the water. The cluster of eggs combines with or fuses with the sperms outside the body of the female organism, and these cluster of eggs when they unite or fuses with sperm of a male frog, there forms a spawn. We call it as a spawn. You can see these spawns as frogs are living in ditches, ponds. There you can see a cluster of eggs floating on the water. What happens in this cluster of eggs? If you observe closely, the eggs they have dark dot inside the egg. That is the developing embryo after the fusion, after the formation of zygote. And this embryo further grows into size and breaks down and releases out a structure which is similar to that of a fish, isn't it? They actually are not fishes, they are the tadpole larva of a frog. Tadpole larva is one of the stages in the life cycle of a frog, which resembles a fish. These tadpole larvae have head, gills and tail. It happily swims in the water and take the aquatic plants as their food, similar to that of a fish. After a few days, if you observe carefully, these tadpole larvae start keep on growing. As it grows, we can find that first of all it develops the hind limbs, and slowly there is a change in its body that it get reduced, the tail get reduced as you can see in this figure, and slowly in a few days after the forelimbs also appear. These forelimbs after this the entire tail get disappear and a young frog you can see which can come out of the water and develops into an adult frog. This is the life history of a frog or life cycle. Here in the life cycle of frog, what we have observed from the eggs, it is not the adult frog which has been come out, it is the larva, it is the mid part of its life cycle which is totally different from the parent. That means it has been taken, many number of changes took place meanwhile, and this is changes what is taking place is known as metamorphosis. The changes which is taking place in any living being before it attains its adult form is called metamorphosis. Meta means beyond, morphosis means structure or form. Okay. This is what external fertilization taking place in case of a frog. With this, we have completed sexual reproduction in animals. Sir. Happen. Good morning children, welcome to online classes DEO Nalgonda. Children, as earlier we have learnt about reproduction in animals, the different modes and methods in the reproductive system, asexual reproduction, under which we learnt about budding, binary fission. There are many other modes also. And in sexual reproduction, we have entirely learnt different kinds of sexual reproduction, that is internal as well as external fertilization. Children, it was found that some of the women, they didn't able to carry the pregnancy. It is due to the blockage in the fallopian tubules. In such cases, doctors prefer IVF. IVF stands for in vitro fertilization, in which the egg from the ovary of a female has been taken out and sperm from male taken from, and these two cells were fertilized outside the body. And when the fertilization takes place, they put in a test tube and keep for further development. After a few days, the developed embryo is inserted into the mother womb, that is in the uterus, and the baby develops further and the woman give birth to young one baby. So, this way of reproduction is called in vitro fertilization. And also, children, there is some animals which undergo bisexual reproduction, bisexual animals. Such animals are called hermaphrodites. For example, earthworm. Earthworm produces both male and female gametes, and fertilization took place within the body and they reproduce the babies. Other than this, today I want to tell you one interesting story, a story of Dolly, which is a sheep. Children, Dolly is name of the sheep, is a clone. What do you mean by clone? Clone is a developed cell or any part of the organ, any part of the body or organ or any entire or complete body from other than the reproductive cells, that is male or female gametes. So, how does this has happened? In way back in 19th century, scientist named Ian Wilmot and his colleagues from Roslin Institute, Edinburgh, Scotland, has developed Dolly, a sheep which is a clone. For that, they have selected two kinds of sheep. One is a fin Dorset sheep and the second one is a Scottish blackface ewe. Here, both fin Dorset sheep and Scottish blackface ewe are female, means sheep. They selected fin Dorset sheep, its mammary gland, and collected the cell, means a cell from mammary gland of a fin Dorset sheep. At the same time, simultaneously, they collected the egg of a Scottish blackface ewe. Egg means the ovum from the womb of the Scottish blackface ewe. And these two they take out the nucleus of this mammary gland cell and also taken out the nuclei of the egg cell. Now, they inserted that fin Dorset sheep mammary gland cells nucleus into the egg of a Scottish black ewe, and they inserted this new fertilizer egg. We can say that it is a now simple egg with a spin dorsal shape mammary gland cells nucleus. That egg is inserted into the uterus or the womb of Scottish blackface Eve, and there develop the fetus, and fetus totally developed, and this Scottish blackface Eve give birth to Dolly. And now the Dolly is totally resemble the fin dorsal sheep, though the Scottish blackface Eve given birth to this Dolly. Why? What could be the reason? The reason behind it is the entire resemblance depend upon the nucleus of the fin dorsal sheep, which is there in the mammary gland cell. That means nucleus plays a major role in the features of any organism. This Dolly took birth on 5th July 1996, and further the Dolly has given birth to many number of sheep, that is a lamb with a normal sexual reproduction, and finally it dies on 14th February 2003. So, here after this kind of claims, that means claims of cloning, many scientists have done experiments. They tried to produce a number of other cloned mammals but failed. Why? Because in the process of development of the fetus, before the birth of the baby, they died, or sometimes after the birth of the immediate after the birth of the babies, they died, or some babies were born with many number of abnormalities, or we call it as defects. So, the cloning is further stopped by the world itself. Why? Because there will be a great disturbance in the ecosystem. With this, children, we have completed the chapter reproduction in animals. I thought that you have understood well. I request you go through the lesson and understand better in another way. Thank you. Thank you very much.